Retro, vintage and reeditions have been increasingly popular in the doll collecting world of late, but one who is relatively unknown outside of Europe is the Nancy doll by Famosa. Nancy dolls have been released nearly continuously since that debut way back in 1968, with a few changes along the way. A few changes between companies, although they are again produced by Famosa now. One of the biggest changes you'll see behind me is that we have a couple of different faces from Nancy. In about 2000, Nancy's began to be introduced with what is known as the new Nancy face, which is this one here, which was meant to appeal a bit more to modern collectors. But there has been a real uptake of the classic Nancy face, and a lot of dolls now, we have a mix of dolls being released, those with the classic face and those with the new face. The classic face obviously is really meant to appeal more to the collector market, whereas the new face is meant to appeal more as a toy. So today I'm going to particularly be looking at this doll here, who is the 55th Anniversary Nancy edition. She uses the classic Nancy sculpt, but a completely new and redesigned dress. Nowadays, the classic Nancy sculpt is used in both reeditions, so that is essentially a remaking of a doll who was popular earlier on, but also new collector versions of the doll, such as this one here, who is to celebrate the 55th anniversary of the Nancy doll. Nancy 55th Anniversary comes in an absolutely huge display box. Now it is beautiful, but I can tell you this one will not be coming home with me because I'm not going to have the space for it. But it does have that gorgeous print of the sort of pink carpeted stairs behind her that really give her I guess a bit of extra glamour, and she's wearing this kind of red carpet dress, which is beautifully spread and displayed in the box. So I really think an in-box collector would love to keep her with her skirt spread out like that, as if she were actually mounting those steps. Can see behind her there is a certificate of authenticity, and it does say here in Spanish that she is a numbered edition series. So I'm presuming the number, I'm pretty sure it's going to be on her back, but also on her certificate. She's a very pretty blonde Nancy. The skin is a sort of a rich yellowy colour. Doesn't show super well on the film, but it's quite pretty. She's not a heavily articulated doll, keeping in mind that she is an authentic remake of a 1968 doll. She has that older body style. Perhaps it is something the Famosa company could look into, would be making an articulated body that would really appeal to the modern collector even more. She is sort of halfway between a child doll and an adult doll, and I think she's something that could appeal to a wide range of collectors, both those who collect adult dolls and those who collect child dolls. The box on the back has these really lovely photos showing this Nancy in several different poses. It is all in Spanish, but there isn't heaps of description, so I don't think that's a problem. And down here it shows where I'm going to find the number of this limited edition. The box does have a little bit of wear after shipping, and I guess that's one thing to keep in mind with a box that is this big. It's going to be very difficult to stop it from getting some damage. That said, this one did come from Amazon, and I know that Amazon is a little bit renowned for kind of just throwing boxes into shipping boxes, so maybe that is part of the problem too. Although it was wrapped pretty well in bubble wrap when I received it. Just a couple of snips to open the top of the box, and then we'll be able to slide her out. She's free from the outer box, and I like how even now, once she doesn't have that, we can still see the 55th Anniversary Gala logo clearly there. So if we didn't keep the outer box, we've still got that information, which is really nicely clear. I didn't actually notice it first of all in the background, almost like graffiti on the wall, but I think that's really pretty. Gala 55 Nancy, and we've got 1968, 2023 written there. We can see her wide dress. It is clipped onto the cardboard at a few different points to give it that, silhouette, like she's walking up the red carpet. You can see that it's 2 layers. The first layer is a kind of mesh, which is sewn all over with sequins, and underneath we have a stiff, it's not quite a satin, but a stiff satiny fabric that's going to keep its shape there. She's also got this bracelet on her arm. It has slipped up in the packaging, but I can slip it down. It's a little bit elastic, so I do think it is going to come off. I think that's a really nice feature. And she's got a velvet choker, which appears to just have a little clip on one side. A little bit nervous when I see black velvet that might stain over time. Hopefully not. Can't get a good look at her shoes, but from experience, Nancy's just have little black plastic slips. Again, they are essentially re-editions of what these dolls used to have, you know, when they were originally released. Now I'm going to snip her free and see if we can get her out. Generally, it does annoy me when collector dolls come with all these little clips that we have to undo, and maybe I should feel annoyed by that with this doll, but actually she only had a few in the dress that I think were primarily there to give her that display value inbox that I think a lot of inbox collectors would really appreciate. And actually the doll herself was just attached with some little rubber band hooks and the one cable tie in her hair. So there really wasn't much that I had to snip, and I was really happy about that. It's been a while since I held a brand new Nancy, since they are really difficult to get if you're not in Europe, although you can order them from Amazon, and there are a few other places, but generally they're not a very easy doll to find outside of Europe. I'm so impressed by her. She has such a beautiful, sweet expression, and I love that she does have the inset eyes in there. I just adore that face. A really beautiful mix between, you know, fashion fairy tale and the more childlike doll that I know does appeal to a lot of collectors. She's got a really nice hairstyle with a little side ponytail that I might look at from the back in a little while, but I just want to show how she stands really nicely. This is a doll who doesn't need to have a doll stand because she does have flat feet, and that, you know, gives her a really nice feel when you put her on the shelf. They're simple feet and shoes, but very effective. So she just had these little slip-on black flats, but yeah, she can stand and she's very solid. The dress holds its shape beautifully well, and I think it looks gorgeous on her. A really great combo and a sort of, you know, harking back to her vintage heritage, but with a real modern flair and going for that gala night idea. The certificate she comes with is, I mean, it's simple, it's a certificate, but it's quite cute. It has the photo of Nancy, a little description of what she is, that she's the 55th Anniversary Gala doll released in 2023, and I have number 1588. The other side of the certificate highlights where I can find her serial number that shows that it is going to be on her back there. So if I flip her around, I can see up here, let's see if we can focus a little bit more on it. It is a bit hard to read on the film because it's actually, you know, embedded into her. I thought it was going to be written on, but that's actually cuter, that it's kind of, I wonder if it's been stamped into the plastic. It is actually part of her body and it can't run off, and I think that is really nice. And she's got this quite intricate side ponytail coming from here, looped up with a few different loopings, so we can see it there. It's quite nice. Yeah, I really like that hairstyle. Nancy's dress attaches with Velcro. It is not my favorite in terms of clothing attachments, and I guess that speaks for the fact that although she is a collector doll, she isn't a really high-end collector one. You know, these are not in the lines of, you know, like Integrity Toys expensive. These are fairly reasonably priced as collector dolls go. And yeah, I wouldn't do Velcro myself, but I can see that it's a way to produce that kind of detail without it being really expensive. Now I'm going to have to untie the ribbon to slip her dress off and show you the Nancy body. Nancy's dress is a gorgeous creation that looks genuinely luxurious. I love the way the layers of fabric hold their shape. It really makes this piece work. I also like the different pieces that shape the design. So she has the bust piece and the center piece and the skirt piece. It's relatively simple, but it really works to perfection. Other than that, the accessories are quite simple. They suit the outfit, but you can see that most of the effort and the money has gone into designing the dress. She has pretty simple accessories, this just elastic panties. The bracelet is also elastic. It will come off, but I thought it might just risk losing some of the glitz if I put it off, so I have left that on. And the earrings are also removable. She has sleep eyes, as you can see, and when she stands up, her eyes do open and they reveal a nice shade of brown. She stands pretty easily, as you can see. She just wobbled a tiny bit as I stood her up. Now, when I first discovered Nancy and looked at her body, you can possibly guess the first thing that I said: her arms are way too short. Interesting thing is that until you see her undressed, you don't notice. She actually looked quite well proportioned in the dress. And I think that that was probably the designer's idea when they came up with this doll. And I mean, if we think about any fashion doll in the world that we know, it's not like the proportions are exactly realistic. And I think the decision with Nancy was to give her these fairly short arms, which look, you know, beautiful when she is wearing clothes, but obviously when you look at her like this, that stands out. Other than that, I actually really like her proportions because I feel like she does look more like a person than a standard fashion doll does. She's, you know, this is more the shape that I am than that, you know, willowy, curvaceous figure. She obviously is a little bit more designed around the idea of a younger girl because she has the small bust, but I don't see her as a child doll. Personally, I don't love dolls that are child dolls, and I like the idea that Nancy kind of straddles in between, and depending on who owns her, you could see her as a child doll and style her as such, or you can see her as an adult fashion doll and style her as such, like with this gorgeous dress that this 55th anniversary doll has come with. I love the way that classic Nancy combines elements of things that collectors saw and loved back in the 1960s, 70s and 80s, both in her design of the doll and in the clothing she wears, but how she also combines it with a modern fashion and modern flair. And I think this particular release is a really fitting celebration of those 55 years and really has a look that appeals to collectors, both modern and those, you know, looking at it from a nostalgic perspective. I think it is interesting how Nancy has branched out into the toy world. I guess when she was first released, you know, way back in 1968, she was a toy, and that toy has become an icon in Spain and Europe, who is now a collectible because of that status. And so we've got this new version fitting the place of where the original Nancy, you know, would have been. You can see how different they are and the different things which we can see will appeal to collectors, both, you know, emerging and collectors who have been around for a long time. I really look forward to seeing more of Nancy during my time in Europe and getting to explore explore more of this really interesting doll world. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. One thing I'm definitely going to be doing soon is opening up a couple of these modern new Nancy's and having a look at how they compare with the collector version. If there's one particular doll that you would like to see, then please do leave me a comment to let me know which one.